Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something that, it's not just some far-off tech speculation.
No, this is very much a reality that's being built right now.
Exactly. We're analyzing the powerful merger of global logistics security, blockchain ledgers, and applied artificial intelligence. Our mission here is to really understand how these technologies aren't just making trade more efficient.
They're completely reinventing how security is enforced.
We went through a whole stack of sources on this, and they all point to the same thing. You have these incredibly complex, interconnected supply chains, especially for cargo coming into the U.S.
Right, and they all have to follow these really strict security measures.
For the longest time, enforcing those standards, we're talking about things like CTPAT, it's been slow, it's been paper-based, and frankly, full of holes.
Absolutely. Riddled with vulnerabilities.
The big insight we're extracting today is how the industry is shifting toward self-enforcing smart contracts. And these aren't just, fancy filing systems.
Not at all.
They're automated guardians. They monitor and validate security compliance instantly, across the whole ecosystem, even down to the smallest, most under-resourced operators out there. So the big question is, how do we get from a slow human auditing process to an instant, infallible function of code?
Well, to really get the mechanism, you first have to appreciate the scale of the challenge. We're focusing today on CTPAT.
Customs Trade Partnership Against Terrorism.
Exactly. It's this really key voluntary program that U.S. Customs and Border Protection kicked off. It's all about securing the global supply chain against risks like terrorism, smuggling, you name it.
Okay, so what does it actually demand? What are the standards?
CTPAT mandates these pretty rigorous standards across four main pillars of security. The first one is physical security.
The obvious stuff, right? Warehouses, trucks.
Making sure facilities, containers, and the trucks themselves are protected against anyone just getting in. Then you've got personnel security.
Background checks.
Verified background checks, proper vetting for every single employee who handles that cargo. Then there's procedural security. The specific documented steps for loading, counting, sealing cargo.
And the last one.
Information security. You have to safeguard all that sensitive data about where things are going.
Those standards sound incredibly comprehensive. But our sources pretty much immediately point out where the whole system starts to break down in the real world.
Precisely. The supply chain has these massive Tier 1 and Tier 2 operators.
Think Maersk, the big rail lines.
Right. They have the resources, the dedicated staff to manage all these checks. But the real vulnerability, the weak link, is with the thousands of Tier 3 carriers.
Okay, who are they?
These are your small to mid-sized trucking companies, independent brokers, maybe a small warehouse operator in a remote location.
I see.
For them, compliance is a huge burden. They struggle not just because they have limited resources, but because these manual, paper-based audits are expensive, they're time-consuming, and they're so inconsistent.
So the whole system relies on trust and these occasional spot checks.
It does. And if that weakest link, say, a small trucking firm in a foreign port, loses a critical document or skips a security check, that vulnerability just travels with the cargo. It undermines the security of the entire chain.
So the manual system is too slow and too expensive for the very people who pose the biggest risk. That means we need a solution that just completely sidesteps the whole reliance on paper and human administration.
If you can't manually audit them effectively, you have to automate the audit for them.
And here is where our analysis gets really interesting. We're talking about combining the distributed immutable power of blockchain with the real-time processing and decision-making of AI.
And that automation has to start with the foundation, which is the blockchain. Now, for our audience, it's important to say we're not talking about cryptocurrency here.
Right. This is about the underlying technology.
We're talking about an application of distributed ledger technology that provides cryptographic proof that data is what it says it is.
So how does that apply to a supply chain?
In this context, the blockchain's main job is to create an unchangeable history of every single security-related event. When a container is sealed, when an inspector signs off on something, when a background check is uploaded.
It's recorded as a block on the chain.
Exactly. It's time-stamped, it's immutable, and it's visible to everyone who's authorized to see it.
What's so crucial about that is it completely shifts the burden of proof. It's no longer about, keeping a paper file safe in some dusty office. The compliance record itself becomes a digital asset on the ledger.
That's it. Our sources detail the specific data points that are being recorded. And it's way beyond simple shipping manifests. The blockchain is logging the tokenization of compliance records.
Tokenization, what does that mean here?
It means converting a physical security action like, say, photo evidence of a high-security seal being applied into a unique digital token that's permanently linked to that container's journey.
I see. So it's a digital proof of a physical act.
Precisely. And other critical data points include things like GPS data logs, which can verify a container wasn't diverted. Or, and this is critical, employee verification tokens that certify a driver's background check is current and valid.
And the benefit for that small Tier 3 carrier is huge.
It's monumental. They no longer need these complex, costly IT teams or admins to maintain paper trails. Their compliance is just automatically and affordably documented on this shared, transparent ledger.
Okay, that makes perfect sense for storing data and making sure it's trustworthy. But a ledger is passive, right? It just holds the information.
It does.
The real magic, the part that closes the security gap, has to be the active enforcement layer on top of it.
That's the next step.
We've got the blockchain as the immutable ledger, the secure data foundation. Now, how do we add the logic, the action? This is where we bring in the AI smart contract.
A smart contract is, well, it's more than just code. It's the governing logic that's written directly into the blockchain environment itself. It specifies conditions. If A happens, and then automatically triggers consequences, then B happens.
And the AI part.
The AI is what gives it the intelligence to continuously monitor, to interpret, and then act on all the complex data flowing into that ledger.
Okay, but given how complex CTPA is, I have to ask, where do the source materials say this system might face its biggest legal or regulatory hurdles? It's one thing to code a simple payment. It's a whole other thing to code global security enforcement.
And that is a fantastic point. And it's where the conversation has to move past these simple definitions. The real challenge is creating logic that can handle ambiguity and integrate data from the real world, what we call off-chain data.
So it's not just checking a box.
No. The AI isn't just checking if a required security training certificate exists on the blockchain. That's way too simple.
So what does it do?
The AI uses what are called oracles, these are trusted external data feeds, to connect that immutable on-chain record to real-world context.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. The AI can read the compliance token, verify the date of a background check, then it can query an external regulatory API for the expiration rules in that specific country,
Ah, I see.
and then automatically verify its validity status against the CTPAT standard. And it does all of this in real time. This sophisticated cross-checking ensures ongoing dynamic compliance, not just, static, we filed it once compliance.
That makes the system active, not just a historical archive. So let's focus on that killer function, instant enforcement. What happens when the AI finds a problem, a deviation from the CTPAT rulebook it's running?
Instant enforcement is the absolute game changer. It gets rid of the delay that's just built into human audits. If the smart contract detects a breach, let's say a mandated 2-hour GPS location check is missed for a container moving through a high-risk area, it automatically triggers a corrective response.
And what would that response be?
It can be a few things. It might immediately lock the electronic bill of lading.
And if that's locked?
The container cannot proceed to the next transit point. It forces immediate attention on that security problem. Or, another example, if the AI detects that a high-security container seal was opened and resealed, but without the proper procedural steps being logged on the blockchain,
Then what?
the contract instantly flags that shipment for a full physical inspection when it arrives. It bypasses the normal fast-track CTPAT clearance until that digital log matches the security policy.
That level of automation sounds incredible for security, but I have to push back a little here. It sounds great for a small Tier 3 carrier in theory, but isn't the upfront cost of integrating with a massive platform like this one that requires AI monitoring and crypto key management? Isn't that just prohibitively expensive, even if the day-to-day compliance is cheaper?
That is a critical point, and the sources definitely acknowledge that the initial integration is the biggest hurdle. But they argue that cost is offset by two big factors. First, the reduction in lower costs and the complete elimination of fines or delays from non-compliance. That provides a very quick return on investment.
Okay, so there's a business case.
A strong one.
Yeah.
And second, the decentralized nature of the ledger, once it's up and running, reduces the reliance on expensive middlemen, the administrative gatekeepers. The long-term running cost of the smart contract logic is just far, far lower than paying for a dedicated compliance department.
So if the tech provides both better security and eventually cost savings, let's pivot to the payoff. What are the big picture benefits from this integrated system? Why should global supply chain managers really care about this specific integration of blockchain and AI?
Well, the first major benefit we identified is what you just mentioned, cost-effective compliance.
This is the life raft for those Tier 3 carriers.
Absolutely. By decentralizing the record keeping and automating the monitoring, you drastically cut the operational cost of meeting CTPAT standards. They're essentially buying into a shared infrastructure instead of trying to build their own from scratch.
And that leads right into the second benefit, which is increased trust.
It's all connected. The lack of trust in Tier 3 compliance often leads to huge delays, those secondary inspections, and just generally risk-averse behavior from the big Tier 1 buyers.
But when the security record is unchangeable and instantly verifiable by code?
Trust is baked into the transaction itself. That means faster clearance through customs and fewer penalties. There was an anecdote in the sources about a shipment held up in Rotterdam for 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Why?
Not because of any actual contraband. It was because a critical paper inspection certificate, which was manually signed in Shanghai, got lost in transit. This system just eliminates that entire category of problem.
That kind of inefficiency alone justifies the shift. The third benefit has to be faster and more reliable operations.
Right. Real-time monitoring means compliance checks aren't some periodic event that creates a bottleneck. They're continuous. So when the cargo shows up at the border, its compliance status is already confirmed and validated by the AI contract. No more delays from manual auditing backlogs.
Okay, benefit number 4, and this seems maybe most strategic, is increased transparency.
Definitely. All compliance actions are visible to authorized stakeholders on the ledger.
Yeah.
This visibility dramatically reduces fraud. I mean, you can't lie about your security measures when the system itself recorded the evidence. And it improves accountability at every single node in the network.
And the final benefit?
Scalability. The
Yeah.
whole system is modular, so as global trade expands or as new small carriers join the network, the administrative load doesn't explode. The system just scales the logic and the ledger capacity without needing massive increases in human enforcement staff.
What's really fascinating is that this isn't just a theory. This is already being explored and deployed at the highest levels. The source material specifically highlights the example of the Traylens platform,
Yes, Tradeland.
which of course was that massive collaboration started by IBM and Maersk. How does the architecture of something like Traylens actually enable CTPAT automation?
Tradelands essentially established the initial framework for a shared, decentralized logistics ledger. It's not a system owned by one carrier. It's a shared infrastructure where all the stakeholders, shippers, carriers, customs, have authorized access to the exact same immutable data.
And that shared authority is the key.
It's crucial for CTPAT enforcement. It means when the AI smart contract detects a security breach by a Tier 3 operator, the enforcement action like locking the bill of lading is trusted by all parties everywhere. The contract doesn't need to ask permission from some central authority.
Because its execution is decentralized.
Its execution is decentralized and accepted because the data integrity is guaranteed by the blockchain consensus model that platforms like Tradelens pioneered. They basically built the highway that the AI compliance traffic can now travel on.
It sounds like they created the shared infrastructure needed to make self-enforcement actually viable across these hyper-competitive multi-party supply chains.
Precisely. And looking ahead, this trend seems irreversible. As blockchain tech matures and AI gets even more nuanced in how it interprets data, these self-enforcing smart contracts are going to become the default standard for all security-sensitive areas of logistics.
And it goes beyond just security, right?
Oh, absolutely. Once you have a trusted, immutable ledger and automated monitoring logic, that framework can be easily extended into much broader supply chain governance. Think inventory management, procurement tracking, and even really complex areas like sustainability compliance.
So what does this all mean for you, the person trying to stay well-informed in this space? It means security is no longer some separate cost center handled by an auditing department. It's becoming an integrated, cost-effective, and fully automated feature of the shipping process itself.
The blockchain provides the secure, immutable evidence.
And the AI smart contracts provide the automated, instant enforcement. It effectively eliminates that systematic security gap that was posed by all these smaller, non-compliant carriers. Manual audits are quickly being replaced by code-based verification enforced by intelligence systems.
And this raises one final provocative thought that came from the future outlook in our source material. If blockchain and AI can successfully automate the enforcement of critical security standards like CTPAT, making sure every link in the chain is instantly verifiable and accountable,
Then what's next?
how quickly might we see these same self-enforcing contracts applied to monitor and verify highly detailed environmental or sustainability standards? The technology is poised to create an automated green supply chain that instantly flags and maybe even penalizes partners for measurable environmental failures that are recorded on that same immutable ledger.
So the enforcement of all global standards is rapidly becoming the domain of code.